Alright guys, so this isn't really my typical video, pretty much ever. I just want to share a few tips and tricks on Medieval Dynasty, mostly because it's Steam sale, and this game is still in early access, but it's actually pretty fun in its current state. And it's also two-part. They also just added a bunch of cool new stuff. The first of which that I'm really happy they added is roads. As you can see, there's a nice little path here. Anyways, so the first trick is actually something that's actually in screen right now. So this may be a little bit difficult to differentiate. This is a road and this is a field. This is one of the plowed fields that I had to personally make. There's a reason for doing this. These sorts of large swaths of plowed land. I mean, other than, you know, oh yay, he can grow stuff. Well, fun fact about this, let me go to one that's actually been worked. I didn't have to do this. I didn't have to do that. I didn't have to do that either. Or that. Or this. I do not have to farm. This is the... ignore the people that somehow managed to break the game and somehow get up there, because I don't know how they did. I've actually seen people on roofs. It's an early access. What are you gonna do? Anyways, so all you need to do is if you rush these sorts of large fields, the ones that I had over there, not necessarily these bunch of smaller fields, if you rush those sorts of large fields, you can actually unlock this structure here, which is a barn. And after you get your first villagers, you can assign people to it. And that's all I want to say for the moment about that. But let's go on to number 2. So here we see the management tab. It's actually a pretty important tab. You can see the people that are here. You can see their profession, their skill sets, which should be... it's basically the same sorts of skills that you have, only they have a, essentially just a skill limit, essentially. People that have been working in one area for a long time, for example, will develop a skill point in it. As you can see, the mother of my child here, this is my wife, has actually increased her hunting ability. She was at 1, now, or she was at 3, and now she's at 4 because she's just been hunting the entire season before this. This is an important tab because of not of any of this. Not of this either. This tells you the houses, but we'll be coming back to those in a minute. This tells you all the structures. This is the important part. This tells you what you want your field to be laid out as, so let's take a look. Currently you can see that if you match the symbols up here, I'll just wait for a brief second if you want to. If you match up these symbols, it'll tell you all the crops that I'm growing in this. But I'm not growing any of these. My villagers are. I don't have to provide them with pretty much anything to actually get them to do all this. I don't have to provide them with seeds or anything. This is what I needed to provide them with. A bag, a simple bag, a wooden hoe, and fertilizer. Actually, the fertilizer is entirely unnecessary. And they will do all of this for you. They will get the seeds and do all the plowing and harvesting themselves and do it for free. And quick little anecdote, I actually went to a neighboring town, Danica, and cleaned out 2 different merchants using their hard farmed materials. So that takes us on to number 3, the unstuck button. So, like I said, this game is in early access. You can actually very easily be trapped inside of a structure. Let's say if someone was trying to enter this building and I was trying to leave, I could be very easily stuck because the AI in this game are a little bit wonky, we'll say. And this has actually happened to me. I've been stuck inside of a building before. So, the unstuck button was made to rectify that. However, if you'll take note of where I am, I'm by this nice lake here. When I hit the unstuck button, I now go right back to where the initial spawn was when you actually start playing this game. And this is actually fairly useful in its own right, because if you're like me and live far away from the starting town, or any town for that matter, and you are just entirely loaded down with materials and would be moving extremely slowly, but you know, still quick enough to get to a merchant before dark and then still make it home, let's say. Well, as you can see now, I am at the starting village. I can very quickly go down there and sell whatever goods I need to and get back home in plenty of time. Alright, so that takes us on to number 4. Alright, so this is a bit it's a bit early to be starting it, but I wanted to just show you that brief view of where my house is. My house is actually just down here. This actually gives me an important lesson, is certain locations of actually building your buildings. So I knew it looked like I didn't really have an idea of where I was going, but I do. I've lived here long enough. So this is one of your woodsheds. It's essentially just where you assign oh my god! Yeah, by the way, there are wolves in this game. God damn. Okay. Yes, wolves will sneak up on you and will kill you. Actually, damn, that would have been a really funny interaction if the woman was still here. AI, this is not actually like a tip, but AI are immortal. In a functional sense, I'm sure they're going to add something eventually. But currently, they will get attacked by wolves or bears, and they will be perfectly fine. I actually have recording of that exact lady being eaten by a wolf for like 5 minutes. Anyways, so right, like I was saying, I entirely forgot to even include the tip. Okay, so going back to it, this is the woodshed. That over there is a woodshed. I don't feel like running back over there. It's where you make planks, which are useful for upgrading, not really for upgrades, but rather improvements on building. So if you look way over there, that's not the basic design for a that's not even a house, but that's the basic thatch roof. It's essentially just, you know, it's not thatch really. It's just more of like straw roof. Essentially, you'll notice that there are different levels of roofing and even siding. So of course we have the like whittle wall, the actual log wall, and the stone walls, as well as the very decorative plank roof, the just plank roof, and then there's the straw roof. The planks are very important for actually making these sorts of buildings, and currently I have a woodshed way over there, and a woodshed way up there past this hunting lodge, which essentially means that I have no way to easily craft them. Learn from my own stupidity. Craft your actual crafting buildings and gathering buildings somewhat close to your settlement. That way you don't have to run for ages and then craft your materials. Alright, so number 5. I may have been going out of order at this point. I've sort of lost track. I actually think I might have lost an arrow, so now I need to go look for it. But as you can see, I can notice things. For example, over here, those are St. John warts. Those are the blood leaf, whatever I think they're called. I don't remember their names. But essentially, they're the healing. Yeah, the brood leaf platinum. Plantain or whatever. Those are actually available through a skill. Those that notice is available through a skill. But what I'm using essentially is called the inspection mode, which essentially means that if I were to say lose track of an arrow, as long as the arrow does not break, I have found it, and you can imagine this would be quite useful. If you're out hunting, for example, and somehow lost your spear or an arrow, you can find it again with ease. Alright, so back with number 6, you'll notice that I'm in the main village, and I'm here for number 6 and number 7, actually. We're going to stand in the wash basin. So these two people, you'll notice, they have the little person icon above their heads. They are potential villagers that would be willing to join your settlement. And you'll notice I'm using the same inspection mode that I did earlier to find the lost arrows. Essentially, what I'm doing, it's actually looking at the skills that will be, that they can bring to the table for your settlement. And frankly, this is one of the most important aspects of the game, because your villager's skill will basically determine how quickly they can do their jobs. Typically that's reserved for farming, but that's not necessarily always true. So, moving on to number 7, the exclamation point. Actually doing quests. This is, again, more of a... I would say this is probably just a recommendation. But doing your quests is one of the best ways to actually get something for actually doing stuff. Bring me some mushrooms or herbs so I can make myself a cures. Okay, what do I need to do? Doing the quests is actually very important. Let's see, just 4 woolly cat. Okay. Doing these quests gives you not only, in some cases, experience for your skills, but also gives you dynasty reputation, which, let's go back to management real quick, actually allows you to further develop your village. I mean, currently, mine's a village. It used to be, it started all off with a hamlet, or just a lone hut. I don't recall what they called the starting village. But essentially, I could not have the building limit that I do without actually doing some of these quests. And in fact, you'll notice that I have a quest ready for completion. All I have to do is just go talk to Alwyn, and I get 200 coins. So I'm going to actually go do that, because Alwyn's pretty close by, actually. Okay, so number 8 and number 9 will be demonstrated here. As you can see, I've just placed a new house that I have not really done anything with at all yet. So I walk inside, you'll notice that, oh yes, it's a, I think I called it whittle earlier. I did not mean to. It's wattle. It's very important. You can actually go up to it with your hammer, and you can edit what those walls will be. In fact, if you want this to be a window, or a second doorway even. Okay, maybe you can't have a second doorway. That might have been lying to you. But for example, this will be a stone wall, for example. And I just go ahead and do all of them to be the same quality, because personally I think it looks better when they're all the same quality. I know other people may have different opinions on that, but this is personally just my opinion on it. And in fact, I also personally prefer houses with very little windows, because I'm not 100% on this, but I think they might actually have negative modifiers to your actual heat intake, which is why I also do the I'm actually going to do the wooden roof rather than the wooden tile roof. The wooden tile roof is the best roof in this game currently. They may add, for example, like a stone roof. For basically, heat intake is a huge issue in this game, for example. Not necessarily for you, but for your villagers. They will use a lot more wood during the colder months to actually keep their own houses warm. And so if you are going to have a village of any decent size, you will want to make sure you're not using this thatch roof, but rather these sorts of wooden roofs. And you'll also notice that it is going to come at a significant increase in building cost, but that's the trade-off that you make for it. The next thing that I would like to look at is another use of, this will be tip number 9, is another use of your hammer. So if you right-click it instead of walking up to a building and holding E, those buildings specifically, walking up to an existing building, you can go into building mode, repairing mode, upgrade mode, downgrade mode, and of course destroy. If I wanted to just break apart this roof so that I can, oh wow, I actually just learned something. You can also destroy roads, that's pretty cool. But say I wanted to destroy the roof, I could replace it very easily. But let's just say I wanted to upgrade the roof. I can do it like so, or, you know, I can, well actually I don't think, you can't upgrade roofs. I didn't know, I thought you could for some reason. But you can indeed upgrade your actual buildings using the required materials. In this case, limestone. If I were to do it with wood, it would probably require, I don't see any wood buildings. Ah, yes, there is one. So I would require, it would probably require some sort of daub. Yeah, daub. Same thing with the wattle as well. It is also daub. But let's say I want to repair something. Say I know that something's getting to a broken state. Well, you can only repair it once it's at a 40% mark, relatively. Once it's down below that, you cannot repair it. And as you see that, see it there, for example, I fully repaired that in no time flat. Essentially, it just took a little extra components. But if we look around, for example, all of these are going to say have varying conditions in the management tab. They will say that the simple small house is at 85 condition. This one, for example, is 0 because it's not even been built. And some of these actually are going to have quite terrible conditions. In fact, so let's go look at the tavern just to be sure. 77, 60, 67, 7, and you'll notice that I cannot fix any of this. This is because it needs to be right around that 50% mark before you can actually do it. Alright, so now let's move on a little bit to number 10. Alright, and number 10 is actually fairly simple and not very complex. Number 10 is simply just trying to figure out exactly where you should place your village. This is more of just a recommendation than a tip, like a couple of these numbers have been. I would recommend you live near a body of water that you can drink from, because you will need to. You need to make sure that your hydration is always full. I would also pick a place that has plenty of wood and plenty of animals for you to hunt. Or access to a steady stream of berries like so. Because these things can really save you. So if we look on the map, any body of water will do. Even these tiny little streams that you can see, you can settle pretty much along any of those. But if, let's say, you picked up here in the mountains, you would be struggling to get water every day. Which, it's not that big of a deal. But it can cost you quite a bit of time every day running to and from the river to get water. So, as you can see, that sort of does limit you on where you can live on the map. I don't believe that this area up here, off to the side, is actually accessible. I know, for example, this up here is not, because they sort of wanted to keep the world contained. So, you will pretty much have access to water no matter where you are, except for maybe like right here in this mountainous region. So, with all of these tips, I hope you guys are actually able to get a decent start in this game and have a honestly rather enjoyable time actually building your own little medieval village. It really is a truly it really truly is just a beautiful game. It's not, competitive in any way. There's no real reason to be upset by this game, other than when you just the rare instance where you get snuck up on by a wolf, or in some cases a bear. Those will more of just cause you to briefly panic, but otherwise this is a nice and relaxing game, and I hope you guys fall in love with it the same way that I have. Alright, so until next time, have a good day.